Hi everyone, welcome to Job Fever. So today we are going to learn Joule API Gateway. It is one of the most important topic of microservices architecture. Okay, so which is Joule API Gateway. So what is Joule API Gateway? We are going to understand all these topics in this tutorial. So first we'll understand what is Joule API Gateway. Second, key features of Joule API Gateway. Then use cases of Joule API Gateway and how Joule works. And then compatibility version of Spring Boot, Spring Cloud with Joule. Okay, so we are going to understand all the points. So firstly, we understand what is Joule API. So Joule is an open source API gateway developed by Netflix. So it is developed by Netflix, which is part of their microservices ecosystem. Okay, so in microservice ecosystem you can use API gateway. So you can use Joule API gateway and you can use Spring Cloud API gateway. Okay, so it is used for dynamic routing, monitoring, resiliency, and security of applications. So you can use all these purposes. Okay, so with the help of Joule only you can route, you can use monitoring, you can use resiliency, you can use security, or you can use various things. Okay, so we'll try to understand each and every point. So Joule act as an intermediary layer that handles all incoming and outgoing requests in a microservice architecture. Okay, so with the help of various filters is handle requests and responses. So we'll try to understand in upcoming slides. Okay, so this is the microservices environment. So we are trying to understand how we can use API gateway in our microservices environment. Okay, so this is our client. Okay, that this is our client, mobile client and web client. Okay, so this is our UI. Okay, so UI will send request to API gateway. Okay, and with the help of this API gateway we can perform all these things. Okay, in our case we are using here Joule. Okay, Netflix Joule API gateway. So with the help of the Netflix Joule we can perform routing, we can perform filtering, we can perform authentication, authorization, monitoring, logging, load balancing, fault tolerance. Okay, each and every things we can perform with the help of the Joule. Okay, but in this video tutorial we are going to focus routing. Okay, and we'll try to cover each and every point one by one. Okay, but in this video tutorial we'll cover routing, we'll more focus on routing, and then we'll try to focus on cover filter things, related things, and authentication authorization will cover in next tutorial. So this is our microservices. Okay, this is three microservices: student microservices, library microservices, and canteen microservices. Okay, so if you are if you have already developed the student microservices, okay, and you have some endpoint, you have some rest endpoint in student microservices, you want to handle, you want to get all the details of the student. So how can we get, you can do with the help of the localhost colon 8081 slash get student. Okay, so student services individual, if you want to fetch you can fetch like this. Okay, if you want to fetch the library data, library all the books, so how can you fetch, you can fetch with the help of this URL localhost colon 8082 slash get books. So we can, you can get the all books of your library which is available inside your library with the help of this. So you can hit services, your library services individually, you can hit student services individually, and you can hit canteen service individually with the help of this uh, endpoint. Okay, but if you want to use route concept with the help of the API gateway, so how can you do so, that thing we are going to understand. Okay, so this API gateway is also a type of, this is also a service. Okay, so this service is also running with port 8080. Okay, student service is running with port 8081, library service is working running with 8082 port, and this canteen service is running with 8083. Okay, so what we are going to do here, so our request will come from mobile client or web client. Okay, so this request, firstly it will go to our API gateway. Instead of we are not hitting directly any student service or library service or canteen service, firstly it will hit your API gateway. So all requests will come to your API gateway. Then API gateway will route to your required microservices, required services. So how can we hit this student service with the help of the API gateway? So for that purpose, the this for so we have to hit this API gateway. Okay, firstly we have to hit this API gateway. So for hitting this API gateway, there is this is the URL. This is the endpoint to access this API gateway. So this API gateway is running on localhost colon 808 port number. So and if you want to hit student services, so you have to provide this URL with your API gateway URL. Okay, like so if you want to hit the student services, a student service, then you can do localhost colon 808 slash student service. Okay, if you want to hit the get API, so slash student service slash get student API. Okay, if you want to hit the API from the library services with the help of the API gateway, then you can make URL like localhost 80 http colon double slash localhost colon 80 slash library service. Okay, so library service, that means the it will route to your library service library microservices. And if you want to get all the books which is available inside library service, then after slash library service you can make it slash get books. Okay, so like this you can get all the books which is available inside your library with the help of API gateway. So if you want to hit restaurant point of your canteen service, so you can make it like http colon double forward slash localhost colon 8080 slash canteen service. So now your uh, API gateway will route to canteen service. So like this you can work with API gateway in microservices environment. So this is the overview. So we'll try to understand key features of Joule. Okay, so routing. So we can use this Joule for routing purpose. Okay, so Joule provides dynamic routing capability. It routes incoming client request to the appropriate microservices within an application. Okay, it allows developers to configure rules for forwarding requests based on specific criteria, making routing efficient and scalable. Okay, so we can route with the help of the Netflix Joule. Okay, filtering. Okay, so we can filter with the help of the Joule. One of the core functionality of Joule is its ability to filter requests. Joule filters can be used to intercept and transform request and responses. Filters in Joule are categorized into different types. Okay, so we have some filters. Okay, inside Joule. Okay, we have pre-filter, so executed before the request is forwarded to the destination. Post filters, request executed after the request has been forwarded and a response has been received. Okay, route filters used to handle routing logic, and error filters used to handle that occur during processing. So we'll try to understand all filtration concepts in Joule filtering video. Okay, key features of Joule. So we are trying to understand what is key features. So this is the same slide just we discussed before. So this is added features of Joule. So security. So we can use Joule for security purpose. So Joule can be configured to handle authentication and authorization. So that you can use that Joule microservices for authentication and authorization, helping secure microservices by implementing features such as rate limiting, request validation, and more. So for all this purpose, you can use Joule. Okay, we can use it for load balancing also, like ribbon. Okay, like Netflix ribbon, we can also use Joule for load balancing purpose. Okay, Joule can work as a conjunction with other tools like Netflix ribbon. Okay, to perform client side load balancing, distributing request every across multiple service instances. Okay, so it can also work like Netflix ribbon to handle client side load balancing. So monitoring, it helps monitoring traffic and provides insights into metrics such as request success rate, latency, and error rates. This information is valuable for maintaining service health and performance. Okay, so you can perform all these monitoring related things: latency, error rates, matrices. Okay, dynamic configuration. Joule co- configurations can be dynamically modified, which makes it adaptable to changing environment without downtime. Okay, so these all. So now we are going to focus use cases of Joule. We are going to cover quickly. So microservices communication simplifies communication between microservices, handling requests from client and forwarding them to the appropriate service. Okay, so for that purpose you can use Joule. And centralized authentication security manages security policies at the single entry point. Okay, so your Joule application can act as a authentication. So first any request will come to your microservices environment. Firstly it will go to your Joule, and then it will forward to your uh, related to your microservices. So your Joule microservices can act as a centralized authentication for security purpose. So this is also a good thing. So you can use your authentication and authorization related code inside your API gateway. So traffic control manages traffic across microservices, performing load balancing and enabling features like circuit breaker. So like see, you can use also Netflix heuristics, but it's provide Joule also uh, provide features to enable circuit breaker logic inside your uh, with the help of your Netflix Joule. Okay, so you can enable circuit breaker logic like heuristics. So how Joule works, we are going to understand. So when a client send a request to microservice architecture, Joule receives the request first. So just now we discussed in our architecture, okay, architectural graph. So any request will come, it will come to your Joule services, Joule microservices, okay, Joule API gateway, and then Joule uses routing rules to determine which service the request should be forwarded, and then Joule will decide from API gateway where it will go, where it will route, okay. And then during this process, Joule may execute filter to enforce security policy, transform data, or perform logging and monitoring. So Joule internally use just now we discussed pre filter, post filter, error filter, okay, and route filter. So uh, to enforce security policies, transform data, or perform logging and monitoring. So like this, you can use Joule inside your Spring Boot and Spring Cloud with Joule. Okay, so I have mentioned some of the version which will be compatible with your Spring Boot and Spring Cloud. So for current time, Joule is deprecated, but most of the projects are still using Joule inside Joule in most of the companies are still using Joule. Okay, in my company also they are using Joule. I'm working on one development project, but still they are using Joule. And Spring Boot is Spring is now from Spring 3.x onward. Spring Boot is not supporting Joule. Okay, so they are trying to more focus on a Spring Cloud API gateway. Okay, so they have introduced one API gateway of Spring Boot. So they are promoting API gateway of Spring Cloud. Okay, so but these are some of the Spring version with Spring Cloud with a Spring Cloud. Okay, so these are the compatible version you can use. To I have did one POC, so I know all this all are the compatible. Okay, so we'll also try to do one coding related with the help of the Spring 2.4, okay, or Spring 2.3. Okay, so these are all the Spring Cloud version which will be compatible with your Joule, and this will be the Spring Boot versions. So you can use 1.5 to 2.7. Okay, so as Spring 3.x onward, it will not compatible with your Joule. So if you want to use API gateway related concept in your microservice architecture, then you have to use Spring Cloud Gateway. Okay, so this is the same as Joule. This is also a API gateway. So I hope you understood all the points which I covered inside this video tutorial. If you're loving my effort, please like, share, and subscribe. Bye, everyone.